I've had my fair share of bad takes, but I also know when to take an L, and I don't triple, double, and quadruple down on them when people say I'm wrong.
Dude, we got to make sure that this game wins Game of the Year, by the way. Do not let that Expedition game win Game of the Year. Do not let it. Absolutely do not. We are the minority being multiplayer gamers, but I believe we can win. I've never voted for anything ever, but I think I'm going to vote this year.
I'm not making this video to like campaign against him, but again, he's doubling and tripling down, and I just want to explain exactly why I think this is so egregiously incorrect. Sure, you can go ahead and vote for your favorite game that you played this year to hopefully win Game of the Year, but it only weighs to 10% of the actual vote, where the other 90 goes to critics and reviewers, hundreds of people that actually played all of the games for the year and finally combed through them to find out what makes them different, what makes them special, what makes them more impactful than the rest of the herd. And that's very subjective, and if you squeeze a tinfoil hat hard enough around your brain, you might start to think it's very easily corruptible. And you're not wrong, but the same thing goes for every other award ceremony that's subjective, like music and movies. But at the end of the day, multiplayer games are far from being a minority. Let's not pretend like you're some type of victim because you play the most popular genre of video games available. At one point, we literally had CEOs saying that single-player games were worthless. Now, if you were to say Arc Raiders should be in the Game of the Year discussion, I would not disagree with any of you. In fact, it is in my top 6 of the year, and I think it should be nominated. But campaigning against a specific game because it's the frontrunner is one thing, but if you haven't played that game and you don't know what Expedition 33 offers...
You never played Expedition 33? No, I did say if it'll win Game of the Year, I'll play it, though. I like to play the Game of the Year games when they win.
I don't think you're in a position to compare the two games at all. Now I get it, turn-based isn't for everybody, and I don't expect it to resonate specifically with people that love shooter FPS games. Just quote the Helldivers 2 devs and move on. A game for everybody is a game for nobody. What you really want to do is dial in on your audience and make the best imaginable product for them, and the potency will carry the game forward, and that's exactly what Expedition 33 did. I'm not a turn-based guy. I don't like turn-based games outside of OG Pokemon games, but this game absolutely shook my soul. It was so good. Even when you put aside the studio's story and how they broke off from Ubisoft and made their own game, the romanticized story of 33 people and a dog getting in a room and making one of the best games ever made, yeah, absolutely, that's cool. The narrative, the voice acting, the cinematography, music, the screenplay, the character development, undertones of humor with an overarching theme of acceptance of death and grieving, the mix of Souls-like elements inside of a turn-based game. Damn, that game was good. You know, last year I had my front runner. I wanted Black Myth Wukong to win, but I also saw Balatro in the mix and I had no idea what that game was about. If Balatro won, I would kind of just have to accept that whatever it's doing was a very good addition to the gaming atmosphere and that people really resonated very well with it that actually downloaded it and played it. And I'm not taking away from Arc Raiders at all. I think that Embark Studio did wonderful with the finals, and I think that their 10-year plan for Arc Raiders really can flesh out to be an amazing 10-year lasting game for the people that it resonates with. It's fun, it's fostered an environment where people are actually more friendly to the PvP and more mad at the clankers. It's awesome. I'm having a blast. You know, and it actually has a story very similar to Expedition 33 with breaking off with DICE and making their own studio and doing things they want out of passion. Because Arc Raiders is in my top 6 games I've played this year, but Expedition 33 is in my top 6 games I've played this decade. Now, Shroud did say that he will play it if it wins Game of the Year. I almost think kind of sets the pins up for him to just roll the ball into Expedition 33 and say, well, this game didn't deserve it. Arc Raiders does. Arc Raiders is much better, which I can already see him saying this because it's a turn-based game. He's a PvPer, and he also played Oblivion when Expedition 33 came out, showing that it really didn't resonate with him. But unfortunately, he completely disregards games like It Takes Two as being a multiplayer game.
Dude, the last time a multiplayer game won was 2016.
What was it?
Well, dude,
Overwatch.
okay, wait. What do you mean by multiplayer? Do you mean PvP? Because that's not true. If you're talking strictly PvP, then yes, you're right.
I mean, isn't it just multiplayer only?
Well, no, because it's It Takes Two, didn't it? It Takes Two.
Okay, bro, that's not multiplayer.
Because it specifically doesn't have PvP. The game's called It Takes Two, brother. It has to be multiplayer. And it sounds a lot like it should be a cooperative game if you ask me, but it definitely counts as being multiplayer. In fact, it's listed on the PlayStation 5 and Steam store as a multiplayer game. So let's not just like hand wave that away. And speaking of It Takes Two, we also have Split Fiction, KCD 2, Hades 2, Silk Song, all of these other amazing games that don't have PvP in them that might have a chance of getting nominated and beating Arc Raiders as well. Which leads Shroud to saying that he thinks there should be a separate Game of the Year award for multiplayer games from single player.
I feel like Game of the Year needs to be two different categories.
Yeah.
I feel like multiplayer and single player competing doesn't make sense. Because it's so easy for a single player game to win, you know?
Having two different Game of the Year awards kind of deludes the point of having the award. There's also a best multiplayer game, which I'd love to see Arc Raiders win. And Overwatch in 2016 did win Game of the Year award. And I have to ask, what PvP multiplayer game since 2016 should have won Game of the Year? If there was ever an argument to be made about an FPS game that is PvP that got snuffed for even being considered for Game of the Year, it is 2019 for Apex. Resident Evil 2 had a remake that year that got nominated, and I just think that's complete BS, especially for a game like Apex Legends that had such a refreshing take on the Battle Royale and had its own identity. But it was butt up against Smash Bros, Death Stranding, The Outer Worlds, and Remedy's Control, but ultimately Sekiro took the win. I'm a huge From Software fan, and I'm also a fan of FPS games, and I have to say, dude, that is a tough one. Yes, multiplayer games, they are a bit more popular. They're very consistently at the top of the charts for some of the best-selling and most played games, but that doesn't ultimately mean that they're just like an absolute masterpiece of a game. It just means that that genre is very popular and people really enjoy it. But just because something's popular doesn't mean it's the best. I mean, if you look at the end of the is a Toyota Camry the best-selling car ever? The best choice? Is that the car of the year? Does Fast and the Furious deserve an Academy Award because it sells box office tickets? No. Does Call of Duty deserve Game of the Year because it's in the top 3 best-selling games ever? Oh, absolutely not. And again, I wouldn't be mad at Shroud for having an opinion if you just simply tell me, hey, I love this game. It is my personal Game of the Year. I've played many games. I haven't played them all, but this one's mine. I'm good with that. But campaigning to dethrone a work of art that you haven't played is just a big Helvetica bold 1000 point L.